What is up, guys? This is John, aka Pokemon, and today I'll be bringing you guys the weekly recap with Chris. Chris is now going to be filling in. I don't know if this is a permanent thing. We wanted to get this done, and hopefully when there's more time we can figure out a permanent host. It might be Chris. It depends on the schedule. He's a busy guy. He actually does like adult things, unlike the rest of us babies. But Chris is here, and yeah, that's the thing. So,
yo, I am not as good as Steve or Cooper.
yeah, Steve says funny things. Woo!
Yeah, Steve's funny and Cooper is insightful and also kind of funny. I'm just here.
But you do know who won and lost, and you watched the battles that were uploaded, and that's
Yes.
all that matters, because...
Yes, that's literally the only requirements for this, and we still have trouble finding people to do it.
That's, yeah. Yep, but that's okay, because we have the first battle of the week, Real Morel versus the San Francisco Arcanines, and this was a big battle, two undefeated giants going at each other in the conference, but only one can come out on top, and it was actually the guy with the MVP that got 0 kills. Really weird turnaround, or turnout.
Yeah, very strange. The only death we've seen from Greninja all season.
And not only that, like, not to cut you off, sorry, you can finish that in a second, but Greninja and Landorus went 0 for 1. Like, I think two of the best sweepers in this format, or at least cleanup Pokemon in the format.
Well, I don't know if Landorus is really that great in the format. He probably is, but we haven't ever seen huge things from him.
I was terrified of him, so that might just be me. But I think powerful.
I think his threat's probably better than, the numbers he puts up usually.
Yeah. I mean,
but I was saying if you went just off the first 3 turns of this match and then you turned it off, you would think George was about to destroy the world.
Yeah.
Taking out Greninja early, not taking it out, but essentially ruining it by turn 3. You're like, George is on top of the world here.
But then George forgot what Justified was and then predicted Bisharp to be scarfed. And it was
Twice.
Sashed. Yeah.
after he found out it wasn't scarfed, still predicted it to be scarfed and brought it in with an Intimidator, and George made some mistakes.
George is number one enemy for the San Francisco Arcanines, Bisharp. Don't know why, that's the thing. Mega Mawile, forget about that steel type. It's Bisharp. Apparently that's the big one.
Yeah, I mean, George just, he made very obvious mistakes. He says it in his narration, he knows what his mistakes are. He sacked win conditions. He didn't play for the late game. You got to play for the late game. That's almost 99% of the time how you win. And that's, the funny thing is, like, usually that's how Miguel plays Greninja. He plays him very conservatively and very much for the late game. The 1 week he didn't, it got immediately destroyed.
Yeah, it's not a spike setter-upper. That was... I think that's he tested it, he figured out, hey, maybe this is not how I should use Greninja, and hopefully he moves on. I don't want to see spikes on that thing again. Will we see him again?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But, he did play other things for the late game, and it ended up working out for him. He got a big win off of it. So
that's all you need to do. On to the next game, though. We have Adam, the Anaheim Mighty Ducklets, against John Crystal Palace, and that was a smackdown. I really didn't expect it, but when you look at the bulk that Adam brought versus the bulk that John brought, I don't know. Mega Venusaur is just gross. That thing was 2-0. I mean, not much on John's team could really kill it. He didn't bring Talonflame because I know Adam had some things that could take it on, and that might have been, well, I don't even know, because he brought Heatran. I mean, the Heatran Venusaur core, bleh, blah, 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 blah. That's how I feel about it.
It's a good core.
It's pretty gross.
Fantastic, especially when you can throw something like Vaporeon in there.
Ugh.
You just, like, bulk for days, and good bulk, like bulk with offensive or support capabilities,
Yeah.
I thought Adam was probably going to win this, but I wouldn't have bet any money on it.
Yeah.
Because Adam's had a fairly rocky streak going in. None of his wins have been huge, impressive blowouts until now. I would say this is the closest thing to a huge decisive win he's had all season.
Yeah.
So, and it's even when you look at a team that's 0-3 or 0-2 or whatever much, you still tend to think eventually they're going to get a win. Just statistically, someone's going to get a win. We haven't had anyone in 2 seasons of the GBA go totally undefeated or, without a win. So it's hard to think that John Origins isn't going to get a win at some point, and you got to consider maybe it's this week, maybe it's next week. I think he had a good chance of doing it this week. He just didn't bring the stuff to do it. And Adam, on the other hand, did bring the things he needed to do it. So.
I think that's, exactly as you said, the perfect example of one guy brought exactly what he needed, the other guy definitely did not. I mean, I think the first two things that we see in the list, or at least in the list I'm looking at, I see a Mega Venusaur versus a Azumarill. And as you probably know, one of those things cannot touch the other thing, and one of those things destroys the other thing. And that kind of just, when you look at the teams, that's kind of what you see. And it's pretty self-explanatory what went wrong there. So hopefully Adam, well, at least for his sake, can keep that up so he can get the playoff push. And hopefully for John, he can turn it around and really figure out what he needs to bring. I mean, just looking at his team, I don't know what his win condition was. Like, I don't know what he needed to do to win. But, I mean, that's, it's Bluck. It's gross.
It's another week where I guess Kofagrigus could have put in some level of work. Obviously, there's some things to stop it, but I guess his best thing would be Togekiss.
Yeah.
But yeah, there really isn't a strong win condition for John's team, and it's just the wrong stuff. And the numbers reflect that.
They definitely do. But on to the Denver Bronzongs at or against Mewcastle. I don't know who's at, who's against. Whatever. They fucking battled. It turned out to be a 2-0 win for Newcastle United, getting their second win in a row. This time, no Rotom Heat Kill. That's usually a signature thing. Maybe Sam is moving towards the Mega Pinsir 3-0 train.
Sam did get pretty unlucky in this match. Two of his deaths were crits on fairly defensive core Pokemon, because that is what most of his team is. I think Rotom actually died to a crit that mathematically mattered.
Yes.
I think it would have lived had he not. So,
Yeah, that did happen.
Bad luck for the little oven, but this was textbook how Sam should be playing his team.
Yes.
He brought a good core. He brought a couple of things to accent it and just chip away at things. Because Sam's got the bulkiest team in the league, and he's got one of the most potent offensive threats in Mega Pinsir. So he should be playing it like that. He should be wearing down his opponent with his bulk, chip damage with things like Volt Turn, as he did, and then have Mega Pinsir come in and sweep. That's what he did, and surprise, surprise, it worked.
I mean, honestly, just looking at it, it's beautiful. That just strategy is so nice. He's got a ridiculous core. It's very hard to break down. Then you have Volt Turn, so you can get initiative and just, wear things down. You have Alakazam with the Sash. I'm guessing it was Sash. I don't know what it was or remember from the battle if he said it. But, I mean, that's like I fucked up. Okay, at least I can live a hit and hopefully take something out. That's like a safety net.
It's a good catch. It's a good safety net.
And then you have Mega Pinsir, which is Mega Pinsir. I don't need to say anythanything else. It's just going to do 3-0 things. A lot.
Yeah, I mean, if Sam can just run variations of this strategy and, refine it and get some bigger differential points, he's looking really good. I think he's found his legs. On the other side of that, I think if you look at Roger's team could have done the same thing.
Yep.
Roger actually has a team that very much has a lot of really good natural bulk, incredible versatility. He's got two stupid fast things that hit stupid hard.
Just one of them was sacked for a reason that it's like he's the new Adam right now. I'm gonna really question that Weavile play for a while.
Yeah, it was that was his win condition. That was a thing he had to have, and he didn't. He let it go down. It's sad to say because, really, when you just look at the lineups, they're kind of bizarre mirror images of each other. I think Sam's got a little bit more of a good defensive team, but Roger's still sitting on a Milotic and a Snorlax.
Yeah.
He's not hurting for things to take hits, and he's sitting on a Victini, so he's not hurting for things to deal out hits. But just wasn't there.
You win some, you lose some. Someone sacks things, the other one gets critted. Turns out that Hax was not the winner today, which is usually good. People are usually happy when that does not happen. But our final battle, we have the Cleveland Slowbros Demo against Lumberjack Gary, rumbling onto the scene with a 3-0 win. Pretty good win for your first battle in the league, especially taking over a team that was 0-3 before. And it was a great win. 5 things got to kill.
It was a solid win for Gary. Yep, he spread out things very well. He put Registeel back into decent differential numbers on a personal level. And he helped out his own team differential 3-0s. That's probably the number most people should shoot for, since it's exactly in the middle. That's kind of where you want to be. You want to win by at least 3-0. You want to lose by less than 3-0. And I think that's...
Oh, yeah. The funny thing with this battle was Crocodile was the only thing that didn't get a kill, and it was thwarted. God, I don't know why I couldn't say that. By, what was it, Colbur Berries? 2 things on Demo's team?
Yeah, Demo running the Colbur Berries. The man has found a love for niche pinch berries, and he's using them, and they're working for him, If you could bring Mew every single week and run a Colbur Berry on it every single week, it's going to put in work every single week, and that's what it does. It's funny that I would say there's 2 complementary things on this one. Watching the matches, Clefable and Mew, every week up to this point, we've seen and we've talked to people as they've played Demo, and a very common lament is, "Oh, Mew, I just didn't have anything to stop it. It's such a problem. I can't do anything about it." And this week, Demo came in. He was like, "That Clefable, man." He's like, "It didn't have anything to stop it. I can't do anything about it." And it's like, well, yeah, that's,
Now you know how it feels.
That's your mirror image. That's your counterpart. And Clefable put in a lot of good work. Also, Registeel putting in great defensive work. I think Gary's really found the voice for the team that Frank built that he couldn't use himself.
And that is something that we will... I think that's something we're going to start seeing a little bit more as Gary gets some more time to get some battles in for the end of the season. But right now, let's move on to the conference breakdown. And we are looking at the same 3 teams on top. They've been on top since the beginning. And that is the Real Marill, undefeated, followed up by George, who is 3-1. And on the other conference, we have 3-1. Everyone else is either 50% or 500 or worse. But interestingly enough, on the Sinnoh side, the playoff race is actually pretty tight. We have a 3-1 team +5, and then a 2-2 team +1, and a 2-2 team -6. The team that's -6 is coming off of 2 wins. The team that's 2-2 +1 has 2 losses in a row, but he's proven that he can beat anyone. And Adam, he's looking pretty dominant, but he has to play all in-conference teams. So who knows what's going to happen there? It is really, if those 2 can beat Adam, then he might get knocked out. If he can beat all of them, he's in. And then those 2 have to fight each other to see who gets in. So I'm excited. Definitely keep an eye out on that.
Yep, that conference is going to go down to the wire. It's going to be 8 week, because week 8 is actually going to be Adam versus Sam. So that's, probably going to decide what happens there. Very much a situation where, depending on who wins there, who loses, how much they win by, and then what Demo does in his match independently, anybody could slide up, down, or through there.
I definitely agree. On the other side, it's not as exciting. Miguel is 2 wins away from locking up a playoff spot, and George is similarly only 3 wins away. I mean, that's going to be a lot harder for George because, he has to win 3 out of 4. But I think he should be fine with +8. If he wins 2 and doesn't just get destroyed in the other 2, he should be pretty close there. I mean, the other 2 teams, 1 and 3, maybe Gary's the man. Maybe he's just going to win every game 5 and 3, better differential, and, get up there. But, I mean, he's 16 differential points away from George. It's going to be very hard for him to catch up, if not impossible.
Yeah, that conference is the flip side of that, where it's fairly standard. It's going to be big plays from someone to knock down either Miguel or more likely George, but it's not likely. It's going to take some huge stuff. So
yes, it is. But even though that side of the that conference itself is not shaping out to be an exciting thing to watch, unless you're a fan of the two top teams, the MVP race beyond the number one is pretty exciting. There's a lot of things that are really close to each other. It's really cool to look at. Greninja is averaging 3 kills a game, even though it went 0-1 in the last game. That is disgusting. Get that off my screen. I would rather look at Mega Pinsir and Thunderous T. Blah.
Yeah, it's always up there. It's
oh yeah,
it's perch.
It is literally
it's
going to
froggy
be
nest.
in the top fucking. I think it will be. Yeah, it will be in the top 5 if it doesn't get another kill for the rest of the season already.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that could maybe do some damage and take it down. And even this, but I mean, when you look at it this week, literally no kills, 1 death. Didn't move, didn't affect it in the slightest.
Yeah, it's 6 kills above. It's a full 6-0 sweep above the next poke.
Yeah, Sam could sweep with Mega Pinsir, and all Miguel needs to do is get 1 kill, and he'll still be ahead.
Gross. I don't know. Oh, God.
I mean, it's arguably the best Pokemon for this format. It's arguably too good for the format.
That is very true. Interestingly enough, I think all of the best teams have at least 2 Mons on this list. Kind of surprising that Miguel even has the possibility to have 2 up there, considering one of them has enough kills for 2 of his matches.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the teams in this league are really spreading out, you know, so evenly. Like most matches, when you go back and, you know, if you look at the information from all of the individual matches, they just everything gets like 1 kill.
And I love it.
The most you really see is like 2, unless it's Greninja, then it gets 4.
Yeah.
You know, that's
yeah,
that's kind of the difference there.
Yep.
And it's what allows for stuff like this to happen.
One interesting thing is both Thunderouses, number 3 and number 4, 6 kills apiece. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the only difference is, you know, 1 extra death on Incarnate. Thunderous proving to be very good in this format, and they've kind of bounced back and forth. When Demo was on a roll there, you know, Thunderous Incarnate was a little bit higher. Now that Adams found his winning spirit again, we see Therian pop back up, but it's very interesting for 2 things that are the same in a different form, but they play very differently, but they're both playing to a similar effectiveness.
Very, very true.
You know,
only 2 Megas up there.
Only 2 Megas. I'm a little bit surprised to see Mega Venusaur up there.
Yep.
Not generally the offensive threat of the world, but when you have something that's that good at not dying, it's gonna get kills eventually.
Yeah, it's gonna pick up a kill or 2.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about in that match. If you don't specifically bring something to kill Mega Venusaur is probably going to screw up a significant portion of your team. And that's how it's going to get, you know, 4 kills in 4 weeks and pop up here.
That is very, very true. A lot of electric types. A lot of speedy electric types. That is... speedy, like, special attackers are some of the best things when it comes to getting kills in this format.
Yeah, people tend to seem to go a little light on specially defensive walls in this format, and special attackers can really have a field day if they work. Obviously, you know, you want to give priority to things that are more versatile, like, you know, Victini. It's still up in there, even though it didn't do much at all, but just because it can be special if it wants to, or it can be physical if it wants to. It can do basically whatever, you know.
That is very, very, very true.
I really like seeing Arcanine on the list.
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to George's play style, along with his, you know, stats. While he does have things like the just below it Aegislash, who's only played 1 match all season and is still on this list.
Yeah.
But, you know, George is using the things he likes and the things he's comfortable with and doing work for them. And that's not to say that Arcanine isn't just a great Pokemon, because it is just a great Pokemon, but it has a lot of outside utility, so to see it still, doing well on a kill on a list that is based primarily on the merits of things that kill. It's great because if we could figure out a way to do good, solid, unbiased defensive stats, you would see a lot of other cool lists, and Arcanine could do very well on that list too. But to see it doing well on an offensive list, I really enjoy it, as it's one of my favorite Pokemon. So.
I'm with you. It's very cool to see that. But it is time to go on to the next week preview, Week 5 matchups. Who do we think is going to win? Now, this is the what is it? What's it called? What was this called?
This is a Rival Week
Re-Rival.
Part 2.
Yes.
The re-rivaling.
That's what I like to hear. Now, we got the Baby Bull.
That's a terrible name.
It's pretty bad. Baby Bull, Dark Horses, Lumberjack.
British Bull, British Bull, and the Spaniard Cup. Gary is going to move to Spain for 1 week to, make sure he is the Spanish world champion if he wins. If he loses, he will be extradited from the country, never allowed back in. Probably won't let him back into America either.
Yeah, he will have shamed his country. So that's going to be a big one.
He'll be a nationless exile, so there's a little bit of pressure on Gary to win. A little bit.
There's a lot of pressure. But my predictions is I cannot see an angry George losing the next week to someone he's already beaten. I just don't see it. I mean, he made some pretty big mistakes against Roger to start the game and came back and won. Now that he knows he's not going to he won't make the same mistakes, hopefully. I would hope you don't do that. And he's angry. He really wants to win. I think George has got it. Next battle, I think Adam, he's starting something right now. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to stop it. I'm actually going to take Gary for the next one because I love the underdog. I think he's the most... That's not what I'm trying to say. He is the wild card right now. That's a better way to put it. No one really knows how he plays. He's coming.
I mean, I think underdog is also fair when you're looking at because statistically everyone has a worse record than Miguel. Everyone is the underdog when they play him right now.
Very true. And I think that Gary's coming in. He plays different. He's going to use a team that he didn't pick, and he's going to have to format it into his own way. And that might be harder to predict what he's going to do than any of the other opponents Miguel has gone against. And I think Gary has a lot to prove. He really wants to make it into the playoffs. He's been dealt a pretty shitty hand, so he has more to gain from this battle than Miguel does. Now, I think Miguel probably has the best shot, but I'm going with Gary. I think it would be really interesting to see Gary pull off the big win. And it'd be kind of cool. But, I mean, that's just me. I don't know. I'm probably wrong. Who cares? But, and then the next battle, Origins versus Sam. This one is going to be hard. Sam won last time because of Sharpedo. I think John has figured that one out by now. And I think I'm actually going to give the edge to Origins unless Sam can come up with another strategy to beat John. It's gonna be hard. John knows how Sam can beat him. Sam doesn't know how John can beat him, so it really depends who puts the most work in. I'm going to go with Sam if he puts in more work than John. If they put in the same amount of work, I'm going to go with John. So I'm going to just lead towards John, just hoping that everyone puts in the same amount of work, even though that's not.
Yeah, and it's a name you're familiar saying, so
Yeah.
That's clearly a good reason. Just say your own name, and maybe if someone has that name, they'll be a winner.
Yeah. It works sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
50% of the time, it works all the time. So, going down the list, I am going to go with Baby Roche. It's hard. It's very hard to go against George. George is kind of a machine. But we've seen this week the machine has faults and the machine can break down. We've also seen Roger, out of all of the people who lost to George, was the closest.
Very,
it was
very
down
true.
To 1-0. His loss to George was far better than George's loss to Miguel. If we can see Roger just flip that little switch that he needs to get like 2 more kills a match than he gets, he goes from losing to winning. And, I think Roger has a good matchup here. I think Roger has a great team. And eventually he's going to have to pull it out. I think he's hungry for the title of Preschooler Jones. This would be a very big win for him to knock it out, be Preschooler Jones well until the next season. So I'm going to go with him. Next up, I have to go with Adam. I think Adam's just mentally in the right place to win this match. I think he's got a good matchup, maybe not the best matchup, but I think he's got a lot of things that Demo struggles with. He's got a lot of bulk. He's got a lot of potential for bulk. And, Demo has some trouble with wall breakers, despite having, Mew on his team, which is one of the best wall breakers in the game. So I'm going to go with Demo on that one. I got to give it to Miguel right now for Miguel versus Gary, just because Gary hasn't shown me anything that blew my mind yet. He can very well win it. Anybody can win it. Anyone can beat Miguel. But I especially think after, the very rocky start of this week, Miguel is not going to take things for granted when he might have. If he had another, an easy victory this week against George, I think Gary would be in a much better spot. But I think we're going to see a return to weeks 1 and 2 Miguel, where he plays very safe. He plays his win conditions all the way until the back. I don't think you're going to see Greninja in anywhere before turn 5 or 6.
I hope not.
At the earliest. I think you're probably not even going to see him until Gary's at least down 3 pokes.
Yeah, until Miguel goes back to 4 kills a game Greninja.
Yeah, exactly, until he needs the differential boost. And then for the last matchup, I'm going to go ahead and go Sam, just because I stick to the idea that I don't really understand John's approach to the draft or the season. I don't think he's playing to the best of his ability. I think Sam has found his legs. I think he's built a really good team and managed to pick up an amazing economy mega that complements his team 100% to the T. And, whereas John has a lot of good bulk on his team as well, Sam has the bulk with offensive options to wear it down. Bulk versus bulk, I think Sam's is going to win out. And then Mega Pincer is going to come in and just run through all the, tired, winded, fat kids left at camp.
I think that is a very, very good analogy. And that's what I want to end it on. So I hope you guys did enjoy this. If you did, leave a like, do all that great shit. And I will be back next week with Chris, with someone, who knows. We're going to be saying things, you're going to watch it, and hopefully you'll like it. That's the biggest maybe. But
maybe.
Until then, goodbye.